Well, and this is another one that I was looking at too, and I think that's very important because again, I know Ken, you know me. When we do these podcasts, I'm like, hey, there's also this research that says, and again, I usually go to peer-reviewed articles, things that are found like in the libraries or journals that obviously are evidence based. When I'm kind of throwing out some of these statistics for you guys, and I think it's important too that on social media that we're careful when we're like, oh, research said this. And you're like, what? Like, where would they find this information? And here's a prime example is I, was going through and looking through some of the stuff about social media awareness. And there was something that was on Yahoo News, and they used 9 people to do this research, if you will. And this research was actually published. And I'm trying to think of where it was published, but and I'll think of it in a second. Oh yeah, it was the Journal of Frontiers in Autonomic Neuroscience, right? And so that was the actual journal that it was published in. Again, 9 people, and they wanted to see that if somebody just sat down and watched social media and people work out, would they have a benefit of their own body by just sitting there? And they did show, I mean, just so you know, there was a positive turnaround for this. There was some instances on increased heart rates, respiration, and skin blood flow that increased while they were watching somebody else work out. And so it's like, okay, instead of going to the gym and working out myself, I'm showing via research that if I sit here and watch you work out, Ken, I'm going to burn a lot of calories and I'm going to hit my goal. So just be wary with that, because again, there was some positive benefit, but is that something that's going to actually help someone get to their goals, especially if it's weight loss and something, something of that manner? Then no, because if not, I would just sit down and watch Rocky all day and just watch him. We've done our podcast about Rocky. We know how hard he works out, and but we're not going to get that benefit. So I think it's important to think, who's the research by, what was the subjects, how many were in that, does it make sense? So just look for citations and make sure that when you're going to quote something, that it makes something, it makes sense. And you're also using common sense to say that's probably not right.
Yeah. And citations and references are definitely a plus. If you can anchor what you're saying on social media, your posts or what they are putting out there, even better, because if science supports it and they've shown a practical application, which, some of the good producers of content, will do. They'll read an article and say, okay, this is how I practically applied it, and this is how you can translate this into your own workout program. So there are those that actually use founded information when it comes to, okay, here's what I'm saying and here's why I'm saying it, versus like, hey, okay, what's the cooler looking thing I can do today? Well, let me hang upside down, do 20 sit-ups because it's going to get both abs, right? The upper and the lower abs, and putting out.
Wait, you mean that's not a thing?